go. So we're going to start. So the question was, is Yelp good, right? Liz and Marie, they signed up for Yelp, an account, and now they're getting basically haunted by this rep from Yelp, right? They're a business, just like Google's a business, just like TRC is a business, right? So when you sign up for something, especially on Yelp, because they do have other packages to kind of promote your business at a higher level to their list, right? It's just like buying ads. Think of it that way. It's like Google reaching out to you, trying to sell you ads. So is it good? I think it is to a certain point. I don't push it that much anymore for top results as a whole. We decided not to go in that direction because you guys have a lot on your plate, and Google My Business is way more powerful. Why? Because it's a Google asset, right? I would rather you guys spend your time building your reviews and your content, because you can do Google My Business post and really optimize that platform instead of dealing and trying to get also reviews on Yelp. Now, right, that's kind of, now it is good though. Any review platform is good. And those are what's called citations. That's a structured citation. That's you going and creating a citation, having something out there, and it's amplifying your brand regardless if you buy another package or not. So hopefully that helps out. That's just the difference. It is good, but it's bad because they will haunt you. They're known for that. Oh, you guys are muted. Sorry.
Sorry.
I found out how to keep Liz quiet. You just put her on my end and keep it muted.
I can't see. Oh. No, and it's his business platform to do what he's doing. And so I honor that and just say, I'm not, but it's what he has to do. So I said to him today, clearly you heard our conversation the other day when Marie talked to him, and he's like, I did, but this is what I have to do. And I said, that's fine. And then so then I said, well, it's a perfect opportunity for me to ask today and find out more about it. And so he's
oh, absolutely. For those of you that already have a Yelp and you're kind of wondering why we don't talk about Yelp and why we kind of stick with the Google My Business, it's another review platform, and it comes down to us knowing our audience, right? Where would we rather guide you? Where's the most power at, right? And right now, the most power, and it will be for, the known future, is going to be on the Google My Business profile. That's where you should spend all your time when it comes to like the main review site. Even Facebook is great, right? We go there all the time and we try to get reviews and everything, but that's kind of diminished a little bit because, still the reviews on Google still push and support all those other platforms. So that once again, it comes down to your time. If you guys had all like a whole team doing this for you, and this is ideal, and you will see this with the big brands, right? The ones that have thousands, if not millions of dollars in marketing spend, they have them reviews on Yelp. They have them all over the place. They amplify that all over. And I 100% stand by that. That's good. But, depending on your business and your time.
Cool. So on that note, we're going to kind of get kicked off here and get going. And I'm going to kick it over to Roger here to kind of take the point on this one. But today we're going to talk a little bit on optimization around content, kind of extending from what we talked about last week, right? And getting into this game. And if you've been listening to the WebBuzz podcast the last couple of weeks, Roger and I have been kind of doing this series, kind of getting back to some basics and some kind of, I don't want to say the bare bones, but getting back to the stuff that really matters on it. And one trend that Roger and I have been seeing a little bit really in the space. Matter of fact, I was just in a meeting today when Marie picked me up. I made her be my Uber driver for a little bit and take me somewhere to sit down with somebody who's a very well-known individual in the real estate space, somebody who produces a buttload of content on a consistent basis and has a lot out there. And he goes, I've been super consistent on this one particular platform for like 5-6 months, and I feel like nothing's happened. And I feel like I missed out because I didn't optimize the right way. So even the best of the best was saying this, right? And this has just been a trend that Roger and I have been consistently seeing in the space. To produce content, we know content's king, but to produce content and not optimize and get the most out of it, it's really kind of doing a disservice to yourself and your brand and we start to question, right? We start to, and that's what ties us back to last week. We hit that kind of failure cycle where we were excited about this. We were excited about moving the needle. And I wrote 4, 5, 6 blogs and the needle didn't budge. And now I'm a little irritated. So I avoid it, and I avoid producing any more content. I avoid doing all these other things. And it just comes down sometimes to structure. So I'm not going to go too deep into it. I'm going to kick it over to Roger to kind of take us into the baby steps. I'm sure I'll inject some things as they pop into my mind on stuff. But Roger, go ahead and kind of take it from here.
All right. All right, guys. So this is actually today's kind of lesson is it's a review in the most part. So a lot of you guys that have been around, you've seen a lot of this, but we're reiterating and revisiting a lot of this stuff because we still want you to dominate your market, right? That's the whole goal. We want you guys to continue dominating your market. Those of you that are, and those of you that are still trying to kind of work up the ladder and getting there. Well, we're going to reiterate some of this information that you should be going back. And one of the things that sparked this up is because we are moving on a number of our packages. You guys are familiar with Accelerator, Dominator, are kind of like our higher end packages. We have a number of some of you guys on this call, some that are not on this call, that are also clients that have upgraded in the past 2 months. And we're going through a lot of stuff. So we get to go back and reevaluate everybody's platform or website, online presence, right? Even when you are a client, you're still on the foundations, the do-it-yourself pretty much package. So when we're going through everything through some of these foundation clients, right, that are now moving up, we're finding a number of things. We're finding a trend. We're finding that there's a lot of stuff, you know, you show up or you listen to the stuff, and obviously we try to kind of pull, it's like pulling teeth sometimes, right? The wins and what's going on, so we can kind of get ideas on how to help you even further. And what we saw is that even the simplest things still are not getting done in some cases. And these people that are moving up in these packages are probably the perfect avatar for Sean and I, right? And our team, because what I'm talking about there is because they made the decision that they no longer have time. They've been listening and they want to apply these things, but they just don't have time. So they decided to move up and having us do this. But since I did see that trend on a lot of these websites, I talked to Sean, I was like, we should kind of go back to 101 and really look at some of this stuff. So what I'm going to be doing today is breaking down the structure of the actual blog, some important items that should be on an actual blog post, right? So one of the things before we even get into that, if you guys are kind of looking for ideas, or you're thinking it's like, well, you know, this is going to be great information, but where do I even start with my ideas? I want to invite you guys to go over and look at some of our podcast episodes, past 2 episodes. We did 2 really good ones where we talked about PAA, basically people also ask questions just to get ideas, right? Really kind of look at what you're even going to talk about if you're kind of stuck in that part. Sometimes keyword research can be a little intimidating. Well, the PAA questions give you a starting point because those already have keywords integrated into those phrases and those questions. So I invite you to go watch that episode. And then after we did that one, we got into talking about what do you do with those questions? And that's when I started talking about the silos, the content silos. That's basically the architecture of the website. So once you have all these ideas of, you go to, you do a couple searches and you have all these topic ideas, what do you do with those? Well, you have to structure them for your site. So each one of those represents a page on your website, right? So that's what a silo is. And we have also another podcast on that, just recent. Those are the last 2 that we did. And this week, we're going to actually do what I'm going to talk about today. So you guys are going to get a sneak peek and probably a little more information. So you guys are active clients here on what this is. And you guys will be able to kind of give us some questions too, some feedback, and see if there's anything that we can help you with. But before I kind of get into that portion, it looks like Sean has something. What do you got, Sean?
That's the signal, folks. That's the signal. On the podcast, I unmute and wave my finger a little bit. I just want to drive home the importance of this really quick. The same individual that I was just talking about, we were sitting there chatting today in his conference room, and he goes, we get about 14, 15,000, maybe 20,000 pings a month to our website. But I've gotten maybe 1, 2 solid leads out of that. And he's like, I just feel like the traffic that's coming is exactly what he said. He's like, it's the wrong traffic. It's the wrong people. I said, I say this to you guys all the time. Your website's your store. You got 14, 15, 18, 20,000 people a month in your store. The problem is they're looking for something on your shelf that you don't have. So they're looky-loos. And he started naming some topic points that he had noticed articles being written around, right? He's got a team that writes all this stuff for him. He doesn't write it. But he was like, I just feel like the content that was going out wasn't the right type of content. Therefore, it's like a magnet pulling the wrong audience in. And that's kind of what Roger's talking about right here is when we understand what it is, when we understand the structure, the silos of it, and we've done a ton of these trainings with you guys around the silo side of things. Now the final element from an optimization, it makes sense to put the time into it because we're doing it for the right magnet that's going to pull the right person in. And I've heard this not just today, but we've been hearing this, that I've been writing these things, or I've been doing these content pieces, or these are the things, but the needle's not moving. And sometimes it's volume. How much of that has to happen? Roger can talk a little bit on that, like how much really has to happen to move the needle. But a lot of times it comes down to confusion to the robot. And this is where, thankfully, we have Roger on the team who reads the Google handbook every night and really understands the how to not confuse the robot. So I just wanted to drive that in, that even the big names in the industry. I mean, this individual runs a program, teaches a bunch of people, has thousands and thousands of clients in the real estate space, has a huge real estate company of his own nationwide. And even he's saying, I'm not I need your help because this traffic is not the right traffic. We got to get this cleaned up on there. So this is a very important piece of this whole puzzle. Go ahead, Roger.
So I saw the finger, Sean, so it's back at me. All right, tag team. All right.
Or I say, and ran.
And there you go. All right. So to Sean's point, there's a process here, guys, because even this particular person he's talking about, know him very well, I'm familiar with everything that they do. It's one of those things that any traffic is good. Any type of, kind of like to say, any type of advertisement, any type of attention is good to a certain point, right? Because you have to drive, you got to figure out, you got to kind of do your content, kind of really drive and amplify the brand, see what it is, understand your avatar, and then you can start really honing in on exact content for that particular avatar, for that particular ideal client, right? So in this case, this particular person did a lot, right? His agency did a lot and they got traffic, but now it's just general. It's basically just general. It's not exactly what he's looking for. He's trying to hone it in, right? For you guys, we're going to start from the beginning and we're going to figure out what do we have to do to even get to one blog post, one optimized blog post, and how to correctly optimize that and how to correctly promote that, right? Really get it out there. And these are all things that you guys, it just takes time, and you guys can absolutely implement this strategy. And it works very, very well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to be sharing a couple things with you guys. That way you have something to go off of. Go visit this site, go visit this content that I'm going to show, give this person some traffic. It's all good. All it's going to do, it's going to move the needle for them. So it's all good. So we're actually going to go ahead and do one thing here. Let me bring up, go ahead and share my screen real quick. All right, so just give me a thumbs up there, guys, that you can see my screen. All right, got it. All right, so the first thing I'm going to show you guys, I just did a quick search. I wanted to show you guys what I mean by, if you did miss the episode on the podcast, or you don't know what I'm talking about, when I'm talking about PAA, people also ask, when you do a Google search, right here, I put in a keyword right there. What is the foreclosure process in Florida, right? Boom, Google gives me a little snippet there of the best result. And then right here, you tend to get this box, this knowledge box right here. This is the people also ask. So what Google's trying to do is basically share with you the best results that you might be interested as well. So there's questions. These are all in the question format. So these are great because you can take these questions and you can build an entire piece of content off of these questions. And literally, this is information that's not coming from a tool, not coming from me. It's coming directly from Google data. Okay, so that's why the people also ask is so important and so strong when it comes to your SEO. Okay, so I just kind of did this as an example. So those of you that didn't know what that was, it's right here. And feel free to click on these. When you click on these, it's funny because this is never ending. Google literally continues to give you results. So you can keep going and choose the best questions for your content that might be, that might make sense for what you're doing, right? So feel free to continue to click there till you find stuff you like. And then once you like the titles, right? Once you kind of find some titles that you like and you create an outline, then you can click on the links themselves and read the specific kind of topic or the question and what that blog post wrote. And what you're doing a consolidated version of that blog post, right? Maybe a paragraph or two, just kind of using it for your piece of content. And that's kind of a good way to kind of find some good stuff. So that is the idea portion, right? But for today's kind of lesson, what I want to do is once you have all those ideas and you have this stuff, is like, how do you structure it and how do you promote it? That's basically the thing. So we're going to focus on structure because I'm going to give a couple tips here, and we're going to use our buddy here, JP's website and his content. He's been doing a great job. Been working with him a little bit, and he's been kind of just busting these out. He's been doing a great job. We've been getting a lot of good results with this. So we're going to use him as an example. Number one, we're going to go to his website. And this all starts with the blog, right? We all talk about the blog post, but stay with me because there's going to be some promotional pieces, tips, and tricks that you'll be able to apply yourself. So first, we're going to go to JP's blog here. We're going to click on blog, and we're going to focus on one that I know he did the entire process with, which is great. But I'm also going to give him a couple tips that he can even strengthen up that piece of content. It's already doing great, but if we wanted to add even more value, right, there's a couple things we can do to it. So we're going to scroll down here, and it's this one right here, selling probate property in Florida. Okay, so I'm going to click on that. I'm going to redirect to his blog post here that he wrote about it. So this right here, this is the title. If we were reading a book, this is a chapter in a book. Okay, so this title is essentially a keyword. This needs to tell me what this blog post is about. So this is a keyword, boom. And then we scroll down. Another important thing that I'm seeing here, he has a featured image. Okay, so the image needs to convey what we're talking about. I know sometimes it can be a little bit, it's okay, because you can actually put metadata behind that image, whether it's a geotag, whether it's the name of the file. We call them alt text as well. So if you work with us, obviously all of you guys do, when you send stuff over, we try our best to enter all that metadata. So this picture, even though it looks kind of simple and it's there, it's actually pretty powerful because speaking to the robot, Google, when it scans it, it reads that metadata behind it. So it gives you some SEO power, okay? So now we're gonna scroll down just a little more and we start getting into what's called the H2 tags, okay? All that means, not to confuse you with the HTML jargon here, all that is the heading 2. It's anything that's after your main title. Okay, so anything that's after the main title, because this main title is called the H1. So H1 is the main title, and everything else is H2, H3, 4, and it goes all the way to 6. And that's just the hierarchy of the title structure of your content, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to analyze this particular post and everything that's on it, and then see if we can give JP some tips on how to improve this even further. Okay, so now we're going to look at this. He did a great job because this is a keyword. This is awesome. And we're going to scroll down. He has a featured image. That's great. Selling probate property in Florida. Awesome. That's fine. And then within this content, I'm not going to read through this content, but I'm sure he kind of dropped in that keyword throughout the content. You want to use it between 2 to 3 times within the content, your main keyword. And then if you have secondary or supporting keywords that are related to this, then you want to sprinkle them in there as well 2 to 3 times as well. Okay. Now I'm going to scroll down, and this is the next big portion that I want to point out. He created a video for this blog post. Okay. So all he did was create a very simple video to then just tell the story of this blog post. So it doesn't have to be you in front of the camera. You can literally order these videos, have them created anywhere, create them yourself. It can be very simple. The power of the video is in the title and the description. and some things that you do there, which we're going to look at next. But before we go to YouTube and start looking how we optimize our video, right, to benefit our blog post here, we're going to keep scrolling here and we're going to look at a couple more titles. He has more titles here. Awesome. So this is what I'm talking about. These are this is probably an H3. The smaller they get, the larger the number gets, but actually that just means the hierarchy of the title is going down. Okay. So we probably have an H4 or 5 here, right? These are great because when you look at this, when Google scans your website, it doesn't know any better, right? So what it needs to know is what are the headings on your pages? What is the H1, right? What's the main title? And what's, H2s, 3s, 4, and 5s, and see what the hierarchy, and when it scans that, it better understands your content. It's no different than you reading a chapter in a book. That way you can easily understand what the main title is and everything that's supporting it from there, okay? So we'll kind of scroll down. He's done a great job here with all these headers here, boom. And then I see something here, there's a hyperlink. Okay, there's a hyperlink in this blog post. So this blog post is talking about probate property in Florida. He probably buys probate properties, right? He's probably giving some kind of advice around the probate process. Well, the call to action here at the bottom is literally telling someone, hey, if Anchored Homes can help, click here, this link is a hyperlink. If they click there, they get redirected to the Melbourne, Florida city page. And that's city page. And I've said it before, the city pages it has very aggressive language, very SEO optimized language for a reason. It's a sales page. When they redirect from a blog post and they go there, they're probably ready to buy, right? They're ready to convert. So we want to make sure that we're very strong with our language that, yes, we can help you. This is what we do, right? So this is basically a great item here. And then one last thing that I'm going to point out here for JP that can potentially help him as someone reads through this content. And now think of it, put yourself in the shoes of the person reading through this content, this is great, but I want a blaring, obvious call to action. This is something I did not tell him. We haven't kind of shared this too much, but it does work very well. Is putting your phone number and probably an H2 tag, right? Just that's kind of this size right here, right? Boom. Call us or whatever it might be. Maybe you want them to opt into a form or something like that. It's just we want a very obvious call to action here to try to convert these people. Okay, so here, this is great. He has an interlinking strategy, interlinking to another page. So this is not some kind of orphan page, just kind of hanging out there. And he has another link actually here going to a different blog post actually. So this is good. So what you want to do also, you don't want to bombard your content with too many links. I know you see kind of Wikipedia kind of just, sinking a ton of links on their pages. That's great for them. But for this strategy, you want to take the most juice out of the pages as possible. So I like that he used 2, 3 links is great. And what I would do is 2 for your internal linking and 1 for an external resource, maybe if that's what the strategy is going to be. Maybe you want to reference something outside of this website. So right now, I think we hit a number of things. I think it's great content. He uses a keyword. We're going to go back to the top because we're going to now start kind of diving deep into some of these things that we can improve, right? We talked about the CTA. Sean, you got anything before I kind of dive into that?
Yeah, before brain matter starts dripping out of everybody's heads and mind explosions. Does anybody got questions over what Roger just went over there? I was trying to see if there's anything in the chat too, but
I just have a quick question, and it's somewhat related. That video there that's on JP's page,
Sure.
was that JP? Is that just you kind of talking about your article there, like doubling up? I think I remember you guys talking about that.
yeah, so easy strategy with those type of videos. It's not about the video. With what we're talking about here, right? It's not about being the YouTube star or being a YouTuber. The biggest bang out of this entire element is really 2 or 3 pieces. Number one, it's the title. You heard Roger say the title of the video matches the title of the blog, right? The title is the ranking element of it. The second key piece of it, like if I was going to nitpick anything about this particular video, it's the thumbnail. The thumbnail is not click worthy, meaning it doesn't entice me to want to click it. That could be cleaned up. JP did a really good job of keeping it on brand point and it fits the brand. But if we're looking from a YouTube standpoint, click-through rate, yeah, it ranks. Is somebody going to click on it? That would be the only nitpicky piece. The third most important component of the entire process is the description. You almost have to look at, Roger will probably explain this as he gets down into some of this. You almost have to look at the description like a mini blog. It's the mini blog of this blog because the description is the component of YouTube that it's giving that robot another chance to read more of the keyword and where this thing should be ranked. And then if I were to throw a fourth piece to this whole mix, it's the tags, right? Tags on YouTube is like hashtags on Instagram. It's the way of like categorizing or also saying this could go into this type of category, so on and so forth, right? But immediately out of the gate, it's title, thumbnail, description. When you're looking at from the YouTube standpoint. After that, I don't care if we create the video and it's a bunch of slides with a voiceover, or if it's you, Keith, on camera, looking all sweet and smiling and talking very intelligently. That part's not going to matter from a ranking standpoint or from an SEO power, right? It will help you being on camera versus a thumbnailed slider audio kind of video from a conversion element. But from an SEO standpoint, that has, no factor to it.
Awesome, man. So it's basically, it's another angle to optimize.
Yeah. So real simple piece, right? The blog is, I don't know, Roger, what would you say? This blog's probably like 1,200 words, 1,000 words, something like that. Maybe a little less in there, right? The video, Keith, or for anybody on this, the strategy is just go shoot a 2 to 3 minute, maybe a 4 minute. That's kind of the thumb,
Vignette, a quick thing.
yeah, like a vignette or the heck, you buy the books, the cheat books.
Oh, like Cliff Dummies?
Like a snippet?
Yeah, like a Cliff Note version of the blog, right?
The For Dummies version.
Because it's not about them necessarily what the video is there for that person that would prefer to watch versus read. So you give them enough information that if they read the article, they'd get about the same amount. They're just watching it versus reading it. Okay. Any other questions before I let Roger kind of go deeper into this?
I have a question, Sean.
Go for it.
When we send the blogs in, do we have to label it H1, H2, or how do
No,
we do
Kim,
that?
when you send it in, you're probably sending in a Google Doc, for example, right? So you're
Yeah.
sending almost like a research paper. That's how I look at these blogs, right? You're creating a short research paper.
Mhm.
We already see what it is, right? So you don't have to kind of set them up that way. We'll set them up for you.
Okay, because I'm looking at my blogs now and I only have the main heading. I don't have the heading twice.
So you have this, for example, this.
Yes, I have that. And then when you scroll down after the picture, there's nothing. It's
Right.
it just goes into the blog.
Right. So this one right here, this is the H1. Every single one, most blogs, most say 500, 600 word blogs. Most people send in their a title and
Mhm.
probably 4 paragraphs, 5 paragraphs tops. And that's it. And there's no real need for additional kind of titles, right? Up to you. That I'm not saying that those are yours, but if you send in a blog and you have it on the Google Doc, right? Selling probate properties in Florida. And then you have this, bolded, for example, because you can do that on the Google Doc. If that's all set up that way, we can go back and fix that because our team should be able to kind of see that and turn those into H2s. And if you have any bull ties list, they'll do those H3s, H4s, depending if needed. But if it's just content, then we just kind of put it in as content because there are some blogs that really don't need the additional titles, for example.
Okay.
Project Roger and I are working on this quarter for you guys is also kind of like a resource center or help center that's going to be on the TRC site that we're going to have the very simple laid out blog format so that when you're sending or when you're going to send a blog in, you can literally look at it and go, okay, if I just match what they've built in this example and I send all this stuff over, it's going to get uploaded, a lot easier, quicker, but it'll give you a better understanding of like, what do I need for this, to be structured the right way. So you don't have to always remember this.
Right. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to use Kim's example. Kim, we're just going to kind of theoretically kind of say you sent in a blog, you had a title, right? And you maybe had 4, 5 paragraphs, no additional titles, just, content like this, right? Just boom, 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 and done. Well, right here, if we wanted to use your blog or JP's blog, because JP still has some opportunity here, say he created this entire thing and he still wants to add, he's seeing some traffic come through here and he still wants to add more value because it seems like people are really liking it, but he feels like there's still some stuff he can add, but he's not sure what to do. Best thing that you can do is take your title, take your H1 here. In most cases, it would be a keyword, right? Take that, put it into Google and run your PAA search. Literally, you can go, that's what I did here with him. I copied it, I pasted it in, I scroll down. And if I really wanted to put more value on this blog, or if JP wanted to put more value on this blog, more information, for example, he'll just come here and just continue to go to town with these ones right here. Oops, cancel. And just start looking through all these and see if there's more question that Google's providing that he's missing in this piece of content. So you're trying to create always try to look at your blogs as you are creating the ultimate guide. And I know we're not all going to go and create 2,000 word, 3,000 word articles, but try to, your 500 to 1,000 word articles that you sent over, try to put as much value as you can, right? And this is how you're going to come up with those additional sections that you might be missing. And maybe you might be getting ideas here that you didn't know you were missing, because this is exactly what Google's telling me, that this keyword, people are asking these additional questions around it. So this is all great information to add to that blog post. All right, actually, good time to kind of stop as well. I want to make sure that nailed down, because we're going to start getting into promotion of the blog. But that piece right there, did that make sense there? Any questions around that? The PAA? You can unmute if you do have anything. I can't see everybody on the side here. Seems like we're all right. All right, let's go ahead. Unless Sean, you see anything?
No, I was just going to unmute and make sure.
All right, cool. All right, so we're good. Now, let's say we added everything that we want. Everything is good to go. It's all, the blog post is optimized. Everything's good. Now what we want to do is look at the asset that's already been created, which is the video. Let's analyze the video. I want to make sure that you guys know that, because you could literally not have a video in this blog post. Could be pretty strong where it stands on its own and it does good, right? It does really good for you. But we want to put more value to it. And that's why we add these extra things, because our competitor can come analyze this. And if they got an agency like us, what they're going to do is like, man, this blog is ranking #1. It's great content. It has the interlinking structure. What is it missing? And they start going down basically a task sheet, right? Does it have an image? Is the image, tagged correctly? Does it have a video? Is the video optimized correctly? So what we try to do with you guys, we try to educate you guys around basically going and doing everything possible that you can control to optimize this blog post so you can win and nobody can catch you. That's what we're after here. So the next thing we're going to look at is the video. All right. So I already have it opened up here. I'm going to go ahead and click on this YouTube video and redirect.
Totally click worthy, by the way. Totally click worthy.
Click worthy. Absolutely. I'm with you, JP.
I disagree.
All right. So you guys kind of see it's about, a minute and a half or so video here. Like I said, we're not even going to focus on the actual video. All we're going to say that it talks about the blog, right? That's your script. Whether you did it, whether you had someone do it, doesn't matter. We're going to focus on the actual content, the actual how this was optimized. So #1 is, I can say it does have something to do with the video. If you say the keywords within the script, it will basically get baked in to the data of this video. And the reason I say that is because you can literally click these 3 little dots right here. Oops, sorry. It's not giving it to me. All right, I have something wrong. But in most cases, you can get the transcript of this video And if you have it in there, the actual keywords will be in the transcript, which are baked into the actual video. I think, Stephen, you were saying something?
Yeah, if you click on the gear icon up in the video itself.
No, it's because there's
Yeah.
actually there's no words in the video. It's actually all images of words. So that's a place where it looks like I can optimize at least the video portion of it.
There you go. So I think we found something there, because usually
Or
right
even if-
here, and then you get the, I'll hit the gear just to make sure that it's not hidden somewhere else.
Yeah,
Play
even
back.
if you don't have words in the video, you can upload your own closed captioning.
Nice. So that might be a workaround for some, but too advanced for this training here, but that's actually a good workaround. If you had words in here, you'd click these 3 little dots. It'll give you an option for transcript. Not that you need, I was just going to show an example of where keywords can also get baked into the actual video. But JP, we found another way to optimize, right? So that's a good one right there. Next thing is, you can see here how this has been geotagged. This is all controlled by YouTube. Inside of YouTube, as you go through the process of uploading your video, it'll ask you, where was this video taken, right? You choose the location. The title should always, in this case, in this strategy, the title should always be your keyword, okay? In this case, it's gonna be the title of the blog. And then we're gonna scroll down here and we're gonna start looking at a couple things. I already opened up the description so you guys kind of see it here. The length, I always say it's hard to really kind of tell you exactly a number. Utilize it, utilize the space, right? As much as you can, utilize the space that you have in here. But the most important things, once you kind of create pretty much a short version of the blog or talking about what's in there, you want to put a couple links, at least one link. But I like what JP did here. He has a couple links. He has one to the blog post here. And then on the bottom, he has one to the city page, Melbourne, Florida, right? Because that's the whole reason we're creating that particular blog post, to drive the authority up to that city page that he's trying to rank very well. Okay. So that is kind of an example of how you can optimize your videos just on YouTube. Once again, these are not to make you a YouTuber. You can do those as well. These are very strictly for SEO, to push those blog posts up in the rankings. Okay. And the good thing is that we saw with this method, and actually with JP's stuff, is that your videos will also start ranking for that keyword in the search in Google, right? Not just YouTube, but in Google as well. All right. I'm going to pause here as well, because this is only one of the promotion areas. We're going to go to another one here in a bit, but I want to see if there's any questions around the YouTube portion.
I have a quick question, Roger.
Sure.
Does this, like when we do our blog videos, do those need to be published? Like, can they be unlisted, or do these ones that actually need to be published?
Anything that has to do with your SEO strategy needs to be public. Yeah,
Okay.
anything. Yeah. So your unlisted are more instructional videos, maybe directly for your client, right? Or for your team. Those are the ones that stay unlisted. Anything that's going to make a push towards your SEO absolutely needs to be live.
Okay.
Now, on that note, Keith, when you upload, and this for everybody, when you upload the video, maybe you're going to upload it, but you're going to come back in a couple hours or tomorrow to do the optimization. You're going to get a thumbnail design, and then you're going to upload that, add that to it later. When you first upload it, you can save it as unlisted so that it doesn't get pushed out anywhere until you have it fully ready to go. Then change it to public, resave it, and now it's being syndicated out at that point.
Perfect.
Correct. So that is, you saw how now you have a blog post. You took JP, I'm going to go back to his post here. He took the embed code right here. When you hit the share, this is what you would provide the team here at TRC. You provide them that iframe, okay? Or you can just provide us the link. We'll go there and pull the iframe, right? We just need to know where this video is, and you can say, hey, I created my blog video for this particular blog. Give us the title. We'll find it on your website. We'll go to the video. We'll take the embed code and we'll add it, and it will look like this, okay? Right on. Now, what you did there is you have links from YouTube pointing back. You just created your own backlink, number one, right? Number two, you have an embed right there. So Google now associates the power, basically the power of YouTube. You got a video that's embedded. So anybody that's watching it, every time someone watches it, it's giving you views. So it's really, really good just for the traffic portion. Once again, it's a way to, it's a way to manufacture the traffic, right? Take that video, put it in multiple places so it gets more opportunity for views. But not only that, that also gives you brand awareness, brand signals. And that's one of the things that we're really, really pushing, getting into or ending the end of 2021, getting into 2022, trying to find methods to create as many brand signals around your brand. And we're coming up with different strategies to help you do that. But this is one of the easy ones you have full control over that you can do very simply. Okay, so that is YouTube. So now we're going to move over to, I know we're getting short on time here, so I'm going to go a little quicker. We're going to move to the final promotional piece that I want to share tonight, and that is Google My Business. Okay, so one of the things I'll start here, because one of our clients that we're upgrading into our accelerator process, we've been talking about this. And if you haven't yet started optimizing your Google My Business, or you haven't created it, go create it. I know there's been a lot of debate or discussion, we'll call it, around what if I don't have an address? I don't want to share my address. You know, that's been the big holdup for a lot of people. Go ahead and create it anyway without the address, right? They're still going to ask for an address so they can send you a postcard and you can verify. But what you're going to do in that case, you're going to pick a couple service areas, and in your map, instead of having a pin, you're going to have a service area kind of triangle where you do service. And that's good enough for what you're doing. Unfortunately, if someone in your market directly has a pin, it's going to be a little harder to compete, but we can always get more reviews than them. And in most cases, we can beat them out that way. But in this case, we're going to go and look at JP's. He does have a location. So we're going to go ahead and go over to his. Let me see here. Where is it at? Here we go. So JP actually has 2 GMBs for this brand. Anchored homes. We're going to focus on the Florida one. That's the one we're working towards to kind of increase the traffic, increase the awareness, and we're working really hard to do that. So here we are. This is the Florida version. And what I want to show here is one of the elements. Obviously, his is optimized very well, but when you scroll down, I want you to really take a look. The post. These posts are huge, guys. One of the things that it was kind of funny because I was in one of my other SEO masterminds, and someone brought it up as like we should all take a page from McDonald's. So we should all take a page from McDonald's when it comes to posts on GMB. Why? Because McDonald's has hundreds, thousands of locations worldwide, and what they do for posts, it's a picture of a burger. It's like just a bunch of pictures of burgers. But what that does, they rank very, very well compared to their competition. But what is happening is they're making sure that their GMB stays alive. A lot of us, we create them, we get on these calls, you follow directions, you kind of set everything up, and you don't touch it for years, right? You can't do that. You have to be in there taking action, okay? You got to be in there posting something. Now, there's quality, high quality and low quality, obviously, right? But and sometimes I get caught in that because I'm always like, it doesn't matter, just post something. But if you post more quality stuff, it all comes down to your competition. If you have competition doing the same thing, then it's going to be important that you put quality stuff on your posts, right? But let's say nobody in your market's really utilizing the Google My Business profile to its max, meaning the reviews and doing posts, then you could literally put pictures in your post and you would do very, very well. Google just wants to make sure it ranks Google My Business profiles that are real and that they're still in business, right? So if you're showing that by getting reviews and doing some type of post, then you're good. And in our market in real estate investing, I'm surprised, blown away how many people in large markets are not utilizing the GMB to its max, right? So I'm giving you guys a tip there, go do it. And that's why now I'm moving towards, if you're holding up from creating your Google My Business because you don't have an address, throw that out the window. We're not going to hold you back anymore. Go create it, get a service triangle set up, and let's go to town with other tasks that we can optimize. For those of you that do have an address, you got a leg up. That's the name of the game. So here, what I'm going to look at here, we're going to now look at how this is optimized and how to interlink it with your other content and how you're creating essentially a bunch of signals, a little matrix that creates a lot of signals all together with one piece of content. So we started with a blog post, a simple blog post. Go ahead.
Steven, do you have a question
Go for it,
before we
Steven.
move into this piece?
I do.
Go ahead.
Those posts, would you recommend doing the GMB post over like a LinkedIn or Instagram post?
It comes down to time. Once again, if you had the staff and the ability budget, man, I would love for us to be able to hit every, because LinkedIn is huge. Obviously, if you have time, do that. Right now, I'm really focusing on GMB because the time, right? I'm trying to kind of look at what is the most powerful. And this one right here, if you're going to do any of them, this is where you want to be. Now, after that, it comes down to your avatar and where you want to be. But I think LinkedIn would probably be your next step.
Okay, thanks.
So here on the GMB, I was going to go to, we started with the simple blog post. We took the blog post and we created another asset around the blog post called a video on YouTube, right? You created now a signal on your website and you create a signal on video on YouTube, right? Via video on YouTube. Now you're going to create another set of signals by just taking this concept, this content, in other words, this content, changing up a couple words, change up something in it. Once again, it's hard for me to kind of guide you unless I'm working directly with you. I'm just going to say it doesn't have to be 100% unique. Take this topic, take this content, a couple of these paragraphs that make somewhat sense together, right? And finalizes it almost like a teaser, right? Change up a couple of the words, take it and create a short Google My Business post. Okay. So I'm going to click on this post here. Boom. I'm going to open it up. And what's going to happen is going to look like this. You're going to obviously your title and JP went all out with the instructions that I gave them. So you can create, it can be a simple image. It can be the same image that you use on your Google My or your blog post. But here I told them, hey, if you want to go all out, create a unique image, put your company, brand it. In other words, Google can now read images. So anything that you put on there, keep in mind, you might, if you put too much information, which we've discovered, if you put too much information, it might get flagged and you just got to upload one that has less information on it. But this right here, it's branded, it's good. It has a phone number, address. It's awesome. Has everything I would ever want in an image for Google My Business. Because now it's basically has what we need. We put it on here. Now we take our content, like I said, just short version of your blog. And then you get to the end and you have a learn more. In the past, we were able to put a bunch of information inside the body. No longer, we can't do that anymore. Now you got to put one link. You get an option to put one link. And here you have an option. It's really up to you where you want to send this. In most cases, we send it to our YouTube video. Boom. YouTube goes to your website, to a city page and a blog post, right? And then the blog post has all this stuff embedded. So all this stuff together, you create a little circle of signals, all for you. So just with you, and you control, keep in mind, you didn't have to ask anybody anything. You controlled this entire process from A to Z, and you can create a nice amplification of brand signals for one keyword. So let's just say that you found that keyword and that keyword had a lot of search. Like, how do I rank #1 for that keyword? I just gave you the secret sauce right there. Go to town on creating these and setting them up, creating them a lot of signals with this method. And then there is 2 more steps that you can take here. I'm just going to mention them. I'm not going to go into them here, but is now taking this information and running a press release. Because in a press release, you can embed obviously the content from the blog in a 3rd-person version. You can embed your video and you can embed your Google My Business image. Now you created a very, very optimized with a ton of signals on a press release. And that gets syndicated to hundreds of news, basically related websites. And that just increases your reach that much more. And then the final thing, just kind of the one I have is share everything you can on social media. So that's kind of an obvious one. Anything that you can do, share it on social media, and you create those social signals as well. So go ahead, I'll pass it back to Sean and see if we have any questions there in the chat.
I'm going to add the final element, which is the offline amplification of this. What I mean offline, it's not a digital asset. And is, I think, most underutilized in the real estate space. Your database. Your database. If you're pumping out one of these a week, that's one email blast to an audience that makes sense for it to go to. And you've got a couple assets now that you can choose. Where do you want to send them to for the traffic, right? Obviously, the best place would be straight to the website, coming from email. It's getting the traffic. onto that website on there. So a very easy way to kind of, now you've amplified it digitally with the signal creation and spoke really well to the robot. Now it's time to get the human eyeballs onto it. So in that case right there, let's say JP's got a list of sellers that he's prospecting and going against in the Florida market. He knows that they're probate type, or sorry, that was a foreclosure, wasn't it, Roger? That particular blog?
This was probate.
Okay, probate. So maybe he knows that this is a probate list, and he sends a email blast after all of this is up and built out. He sends an email blast out for the week with a little bit of a small email. And if you want to better understand a little bit more around the steps, blah, 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 and link to the actual blog page of his site in that email. And get some of that traffic coming from it over to the site, because that's the other kind of key element is traffic, right? That's why we're trying to amplify. It's why we're trying to do all this stuff anyway. And if you got into that rhythm, I have always made this joke. If I'm sent, and I have a list in our database, it's about 400 or 500 names right now that I send emails to every single week. They're not clients. These are people that over the years, database of things that I've built, they're business owners. They own small business. They need digital marketing help. I send them these things all the time. I blast our podcast episodes out to them. I broadcast blog articles out to them. And even if they never read it, the fact that they see Sean Tiberio, Top Results Consulting, Sean Tiberio, Top Results Consulting, every single week, and they even have to just go and delete the email or go through that step of hitting unsubscribe so that they don't get any more, the message is being ingrained, right? The eyes that they're putting eyes on it, and they have to think through that process. And when they need you, that's how we also keep ourselves front of mind on it. We're doing it really well if you follow these steps, keeping front of mind to Google and the robot. But we also got to keep front of mind to the human, right? To the individual that needs us on there. So I know Roger went through a lot. I'm going to just throw it out here right now. That's just one. All right, that's just one article, one set of assets to really amplify this like crazy. It takes more than one to really push that needle. That's why when we start looking at our accelerator package, Roger and the SEO team, they're doing 4, 5, 6 of these types of things every single month. We get to Dominator. We're talking 8, 9, 10 different types of assets like this being pushed month in, month out to speed this process up. So understand the cycle, right? And then it comes down to how quick can you pump these out? Because that's how quick you're gonna be able to start to move the needle on that. So I'm gonna open it up to questions, unless Roger, unless you got anything to add to that, but if not, we can open up to questions. I know you dropped a lot on everybody. These two are actually back here working on stuff because as we were going, I was giving them other little tidbits and I'm making them work on things already.
No, I think we're good. And any questions are welcome.
Sorry, guys, I hate to take all the airspace. That press release, is there an informal way to do that outside of like contacting a newspaper or something?
Well,
Yeah.
you can go that way and pull out all your hair and end up like me, or you can write this website down. Actually, I'll give you an email address that you can email for press release. It's Sean, SHAWN, at topresultsconsulting.com.
I thought you were just gonna give them the support site.
We actually have a la carte press releases where you can, if you're gonna, bootstrap this whole thing together, we've already got all this stuff in place. It's what we do it in our top end packages. If you want to get a one-off press release because you want to add those extra signals, boost that to it, just shoot either me or Roger an email and let us know. We'll put you in touch with, we'll make sure the team's got that. We'll get that set up. It's a one-off billing to get that. And our team of writers, they'll write up the press release based on the topic or the particular blog maybe that you're going to try to amplify on and go through a process with you. And then that gets syndicated out from there. And it's a couple hundred outlets that it gets thrown out to and picked up by.
Yeah,
Wow.
What I would throw, what I'd throw in there and as a tip there, Keith, is I would definitely, if you're going to go in that direction, just a one-off press release here and there, right, to amplify certain keywords or city pages that you really want to kind of speed up the process. I go through the process I gave today, right? Even if you have to watch the replay, make sure you got a blog post, or if you already have the city page, right? Well, if you have a city page, for example, you would then go and create the video for it, right? If it already has a video, then you create a Google My Business post. Once you have those assets and then we run the press release, it's so much more powerful. That's why I kind of give you that tips. Not that I'm giving you more work. It's just, it's worth your time.
And Keith, that's after all the stuff you and I talked about last week, all the local photos and changing.
I know. I'm grinding, man. I'm grinding.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Anybody else? Questions?
Yeah, I had a question as far as the YouTube video. So when I put the YouTube video to the blog, I actually, inside of WordPress, it says like add media. And one of the things is like you can add the URL of the YouTube. So that's the way that I did it. Hopefully I didn't screw it up. If I was supposed to do like a embed iframe, I don't know if Google looks for one over the other. And if it does, I'd love to know so I can fix it on all the ones that I've done previously.
Yeah, I can definitely speak to that. JP, don't worry about it. The reason is because we use Divi, right? So you're more on the tech side. So you're on the back end of your website doing some of this stuff as well. There's a module within the theme that we use that allows you to kind of shortcut. All it's doing, you're putting the link in there. It's still creating the iframe in the back end. So no worries on that. You're good.
Perfect. Thanks.
Anybody else? If not, it's the Keith and JP show. So feel free to ask more questions. Either you two. John, you've been quiet.
I mean, I've got like 6 more, but I was going to let everybody else ask.
Go ahead, JP. Nobody else is asking. So
Okay. So on the previous ones that I've done over the last year, I never had like as much clarity as I do now. 2 things. One, is it worth going back and fixing all the ones that I did previously? And I think I already know the answer is yes. And 2, do you need me to do that, or is that something that your team does since I've upgraded to the next package, or how would we handle something like that?
Yeah, so for your particular situation, JP is one of our clients that upgraded, right, to one of our higher packages just recently. So we can actually help you with that, JP, kind of looking it over just to make sure we're on the same page. We're not changing anything that might be already performing for you, right? So yeah, we can help you. And then for everybody, if you have something you've done in the past, even I know a lot of you or majority of you guys have never done this particular strategy that I just mentioned, but let's say you wrote a blog post, right? Let's say you wrote a blog post and you're like, man, I wish I could redo that one because I want it to be a part of this strategy. 100%. Go back, refresh it. It's actually a positive, because if that's been dormant, just sitting there, and you're not ranking very well for that particular blog post because it was just crappy content, right, that you created 2 years ago. If you go back and rewrite that, Google will re-index that and look at it as fresh content and basically put you up there to see if you compete with the top of that category. So it's a good thing that you go back and refresh your content. It's actually a good thing, even if you have a good piece of content that's performing, to add a little bit of value every so often. There is no time frame, but you don't want to lose those rankings. In other words, that's why it's always good to add some type of asset, whether it's a downloadable thing, a little bit of a paragraph to add more value to something, but fresh content is good.
So actually, Marie just brought up a really good question right here.
Sure.
While you were chatting. If you're going to go back and update, for those of you guys that had it, or even some of you that have been in some of our content packages or in those content packages right now, like John May, I know you're in our Content Pro. We're writing a lot of blogs for you, but let's say you're going to add this element of video to it, right? And you're going to shoot the video and send it in. If you want to make those updates, when you send that into support, send the link to the blog that you want to update so that the team knows which blog you're talking about. And then if you're making content edits, put those on that Word document so that they can have those to put in there. John, in your case, if you're not making any content edits, but you want to add the video to it, just send the video and put the link to the blog so that the team knows this is the blog that we want to put that video onto. Okay.
Let me add on that one, Sean. We wanted the YouTube link, not the
Right.
actual video.
Yes. Yeah. That's what we're talking about. The YouTube link.
The embed code,
You can send just the link.
the YouTube link.
Yeah. Because when they click on that, they could grab the embed
Yeah.
code.
And I think what
Send me
Nimitz is
the-
referring to, just in case this is a little confusing to anybody, is don't send us the MP4 version or any type of .movie version. Upload it to YouTube. Once it exists there, then send us something, smoke signals to it, whatever. It doesn't matter. It needs to be on YouTube. And then we can do some stuff with it.
John, that was
I have a
hint for
question.
you to start doing videos since you have that nice studio.
I love that background. Yeah, it did me. I got the white. Now I got to get some lighting.
I
somebody's-
have a
Yesenia,
question,
go ahead.
guys.
Go ahead.
Yeah. When you're in multiple markets, right? What is the best way to apply this to all the different markets? Is it the same article with different pictures with the geocode to that specific city, things like that? Even if it's the same article, yet with different pictures? Yes?
Great question. I'm
No?
going to show you an example of this is happening in real time right now. So it's better to see it. So you can kind of see where, because it is a little bit of work, but it's possible. Okay. So you got to treat it like a franchise, Yesenia. So look at your different markets, almost like a franchise. Think of it that way, right? I talked about McDonald's earlier. They have a ton of locations. So let me share my screen. All right. So man, JP is getting a lot of love today. Well, you guys will see another company here pretty soon. I'll do all this on. All right. So JP is doing New Jersey. That was his main market where he first started. It does very, very well there with his SEO. And then he moved to Florida, right? That is hub. So what you have to do, since I did mention, you got to treat this almost like a franchise. Every location needs to have its own GMB. Okay, first of all, right? Its own Google My Business. So that's number one. Tell me your 2 locations where you're at, just so I kind of maybe gear it towards you. Oh, I think you're muted. Sorry.
Tennessee and the Panhandle of Florida?
Got it. All right. So
And,
you're gonna be very specific to city, right? Tennessee and probably Florida, and then we'll have some cities. Anything in the Panhandle that's there, kind of list. So, and then we're gonna choose your GMB where you're gonna compete, right? It's gonna be where your office, where you kind of your office location, the address, right? Bam. So those are gonna be how you're gonna do it, and then your content where it gets tricky, right? That's probably where it's like, wait a minute. Well, I do foreclosures in both those markets. I do probates in both those markets. That's where creative writing comes into play, because each one of those, even though we say the foreclosure process in Melbourne, Florida, that's different than the foreclosure process in New Jersey or in Elizabeth, New Jersey. So you have to kind of, and it does get tricky, because do you want a foreclosure blog for every single city you do business in? What I try to recommend, because that's a lot of work, and you don't need it for all of them, because some of your content will rank in multiple locations that are nearby. So I like to go after the main metropolitan areas, or your main area that you want to go after. And then that blog post tends to rank for a lot of the things around it. So that's how we kind of approach that. But yes, you could potentially end up with multiple foreclosure blogs or multiple bankruptcy blogs, and the content does have to be somewhat unique. You can make it, there's not too much you can do, but you have to try. That's where the writer comes in and try to kind of, stats about that city. The other one, case studies of someone that you helped through a foreclosure in that market, things like that. Make the content unique.